So good afternoon once again to all the participants and welcome to our sixth episode of Sunday Funday. Previously, we have conducted different programs and covered various topics related to transformers. Today's topic is mostly related to the O&M team and engineers who are uh, at the field and living with the transformers day and night. So it is more on the practical aspects of the transformer uses. So as the things are improving and the corona is going, the business scenario is also improving, and I'm happy to feel that uh, our team is also engaged at sites and doing the job. And probably that is the reason that we have not our two stalwarts, Ramiz Vora and Irfan Sheikh, we are missing them today. So whole program I'll be conducting on my own, and I request to keep your mics off and videos off. And as usual, most of you must be a regular participant to these programs, and you know how the things goes over here. So I need not explain you uh, the way we are conducting it. So not taking much time, let me start the program of today. Today's topic is basics of transformer operation maintenance. So we'll be covering the general aspects of today's topic, and we're not going into too deep of the subjects. Like in the previous programs, we have covered about moisture management, which was a little bit complex area, and we had gone into depth. So today we are more focused on the day-to-day operational aspects of the transformer. So before going into the subject, uh, I will not introduce Nowstar, as most of you know now what we do. We are into consulting activities, that is technology related to manufacturing. Then we are into plant engineering. We help transformer manufacturers to set up factories and acquire equipments, starting from vending machines to vapor phase drying, ovens and oil filtration and all. We are also into business process consulting and design and cost optimization. We have our dedicated team of field services, which are primarily into erection testing, commissioning, troubleshooting, spares, preventive maintenance, and other aspects like retrofilling with Easterfield transformers, and annual maintenance contracts, diagnostics. We are mostly active in field services in the state of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, UP, and some part of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. We have our third activity in terms of Nostar Knowledge Academy. This program is part of Nostar Knowledge Academy initiatives, where we conduct different seminars, workshops, and classroom trainings, and also actual product design training, special processes, that also we cover. But that used to be before the lockdown phase. Now, since the lockdown has begun, so our physical training activities are not happening currently. As soon as the things get further relaxed, we will be going back to our physical actual classroom trainings, and that will be with more detailed, and those programs are normally starting of 1 day to 3 days and 4 days also. Especially product design workshops are of 5 days program. Then we are providing different power industrial solutions, particularly some of them are from Streamer Electric Switzerland, like fire prevention of power panels, online moisture management, lightning protection of overhead lines up to 33 kV, then online monitoring of transformers, that is from Motwane, and K-class insulating liquids from Savita Electric. I will not introduce myself, you know me well. So today's agenda is we'll start with a brief about transformers. Then we will look into performance factors. Then we will see insulation systems. We will spend time on different protection devices and components, and what are the preventive cares required to be taken for these equipments. Then we'll touch upon some of the best practices which are advised to be followed while using the transformers. And then we'll talk briefly about different solutions what we offer, and followed by a question and answer session. And then we will close the session by announcing our next Sunday's program. Okay, so transformer, as all of you know, you are into electrical and you are day in and day out living with the transformer. Transformer is an electrical machine and it is used for transferring power from one circuit to another circuit. Okay, it is based on electromagnetic induction and it has got two main components, that is coils and core. And there are several passive components like clamping structure, enclosures, insulation, cooling system, protection devices, terminal and tap switches. Okay, these are different components of the transformer. And skipping this, now what are the performance factors? I mean, what are the factors which affects the transformer's life as such and transformer's performance? So I have divided these into three broad categories. Number one is the build quality, means the what kind of care has been taken or what kind of principles has gone into manufacturing that particular transformer. Then there are certain inherent factors which are responsible for transformer service and performance. And then, of course, service condition, the way the transformer is being put into use. As today's program is on operation and maintenance, so most of the focus will be on service conditions and related steps with that. So build quality, if we say there are two distinct segmentation can be done. Build quality, most of it comes under the manufacturer's responsibility. So that is design and engineering of the transformer, which is design expertise and the kind of tolerances and margins are being maintained while choosing the designs like flux density or insulation strength. Then mechanical design, structural, and the layout of the different equipments and components on the transformer. The materials which are being used in the transformer, as you know, there is a wide price range of all the materials available in India. You can get as cheap as one particular item and as costly as that particular same particular item. For example, if you go for steel procurement, then you can get the steel from a roadside scrap dealer and you can get it from the SR or Tata Steel warehouses. Then the processes which are being used to make the transformers, like transformer is not an automated machine. It is basically like a art work or like a carpentry activity where a lot of skill and expertise is required to make this product. So skill is very, very important while making the transformer. Plant and machinery is another factor. What is the level of the processes? Different processes. However, most of the processes are manual, as I said, but some of the special processes like drying of the transformer, for that matter, or crimping of the transformer, or brazing, which is again a special kind of process. What is the quality level or CTQ level of that process? That is also important. Dust is the enemy of the transformer, and transformer manufacturing has to be conducted in a controlled environment because dust and dirt later on create problems during the use of the transformer. Then, of course, though it is not a technical point, but right lead time is to be available so that the product can be made with correct and right amount of dedication and time, which is rightly required. And then quality culture in the organization. These three are the most important and they contribute maximum for the transformer build quality. The third, fourth factor, which comes into the user's responsibility, whether the user is giving lead time. See, this point looks very, very mundane, but as you must be aware that normally there is a lot of delivery pressure when the transformers are coming, especially when it is a project like EPC project, you can say, where deliveries are very tight. So when you are not giving sufficient lead time to the transformer manufacturer, the transformer quality may get affected. And then the right price. Of course, I'll not go into that aspect because price is a decision-making point, at least in our country, and a lot of emphasis is given on the lowest price. That also indirectly affects the transformer quality. Service condition is the second performance factor. Service condition means under which circumstances the transformer is being put into use. First is environmental. What is the temperature range over there? What are the weather conditions? How much rain is happening? What is the air quality? What is the atmosphere? Corrosivity of the atmosphere, pollution level of the atmosphere. That affects the transformer performance. Then operational aspects like power quality, for example, harmonics percentage in the incoming power, switching activities, switching levels, the protection kind of protection is being provided, loading cycle is being implemented or respected, loading level of the transformer, and what is the load type. Of course, all these parameters are taken care while placing the order of the transformer. So that must be taken care when the transformer is being procured. And then the routine operation and maintenance of the transformer, which comes under service care, like regular monitoring of data, recording, analysis, adherence to the O&M manual, routine preventive maintenance, periodic checks, which we are going to cover today, and on-time action. This transformer, which is being shown over here, is purposely shown. It is very old transformer. It is 60 years old and it is still working quite satisfactorily. Though the appearance is not good, but you can see it is not dirty or oily or leaking from the place. So that way it is maintained very nicely. So inherent factors, coming to third point, is number one is insulation system, which is primarily responsible for the transformer's performance in the life, and most of the abuse on the transformer affect directly or indirectly the insulation of the transformer. Electrical machines are nothing but the insulation. So if insulation is not taken care properly, that affects the transformer's life and service conditions. Then cooling system, again it is related with the insulation life because the temperature decides the aging rate. We have understood that in our previous programs, that the loading and increase in the temperature directly affects the insulation life and quality. Protection devices and components, whether they are functioning or they are rightly selected or they are rightly setted as per the requirement. So that plays very important role. And weather protection and exterior coating, that is the primarily enclosure and the painting. Kindly mute your microphones. Thank you so much. So weather protection, that is nothing but the enclosure. What? Hello. So let us see little bit about insulation system. So see, the people who have been attending our programs in the past, they may find some information is repetitive in nature, and that is obvious because ultimately when we are talking on the transformers and trying to go different aspect, some amount of information is likely to be repeated because that is something from where we are leading to the topic of the that particular program. So it might happen that you may find some slides are getting repeated. So I'm sorry for that, but that is required for going ahead in the subject. So insulation classes, as you might have seen, this is a quite standard slide in my programs. There are different type of insulations. Earlier when old IEC was there, that is 60085, the classification was based on the alphabets, and now later on it is changed to temperature ranges, that is maximum hotspot allowable for that particular insulation class. So from I, A, E, B, C, it starts from 90 degree and it goes to more than 300 degrees centigrade. K-class insulating system typically consisting of non-hygroscopic solid insulation and non-mineral oil-based insulation systems comes under the K-class category, which have a hotspot of 300 degrees centigrade. So if you look at these are the different solid insulation material, and class A, when we say it is 105 degrees centigrade, which is our standard oil immersed transformers, which are made from cellulose based insulation along with the petroleum based or mineral based insulating liquid, that is mineral oil or transformer oil. Second category is dry type transformers, which applies 155 and 180 degrees centigrade class of insulation. Typically, VPI transformers are 155 degree, and CRT transformers can have 155 as well as 180 degree centigrade classes. So these are dry type transformers. These transformers use non-hygroscopic insulating materials, synthetic materials like Nomex, aramide, polyester, along with different types of resins, varnishes, and epoxy compound. Then third category is A-class liquid immersed insulation, that is natural and synthetic esters with solid material that can be non-hygroscopic, that is class A type, and as well as non-hygroscopic class F and H type, as well as class A hygroscopic like cellulose-based material. So based on the insulation combination, we can achieve the maximum hotspot temperature with K-class insulating liquid higher than mineral oils and up to beyond 300 degrees centigrade also. So as far as the temperature is concerned, K-class insulating liquids are best insulating systems for the transformers from fire safety point of view and overloading point of view. Okay, so different liquid insulations in use currently are major four types, that is mineral oil, silicon oil, natural ester, and synthetic ester. Silicon oil is not that much popular. Mineral oil is, since being ages, it is being used, so most of the transformers, rather all the transformers are being used with mineral oil. Now slowly the trend is moving towards natural ester and synthetic ester. We had given a dedicated program on natural synthetic ester. Our last episode was on this topic only. So transformer life is nothing but insulation life that we have understood in the past, because temperature rise is nothing but the corresponds to operating temperature of the transformer, and the temperature rise depends upon three things, that is insulation class, cooling system, and current density. So the selection of all these three parameters will determine what is the maximum operating temperature or hotspot temperature possible of that transformer. The transformer life is inversely proportional to aging of the transformer, and aging is directly proportional to the loading and operating temperature. So more is the temperature, more is the load, faster is the end of life approach of the transformer. Okay. So what should be done to take care of the insulation quality? Now we are moving towards our O&M aspect of today's program. Insulation quality is dependent upon these four factors. First, of course, is the temperature and load on the transformer, then moisture content in the transformer, and acidity in the oil. Just a bit, let me select the pointer so that give me a minute. Acidity, presence of a rate of increasing of acids in the transformer oil, oxygen in the oil. So these four factors primarily define or limit the life of the transformer, or they affect the insulation quality of the transformer. Sorry. So in case of solid insulation, it is getting affected because of operating temperature, moisture ingress, electrical stresses, mechanical forces, and aging decay. Okay, so the pity with the solid insulation is that whatever effect of usage is happening, that is not reversible, that is irreversible. It is the most important and critical point as far as transformer insulation is concerned. When solid insulation is getting affected by moisture and all those parameters, the damage, that is the insulation strength, is getting affected, and that insulation strength cannot be regained by any way. Of course, you can replace it, but that replacement is not as easy as liquid insulation, that is oil. So when we are talking about solid insulation, we must be very, very careful that our action should not lead to the deterioration or unwantedly fast deterioration of the insulation quality. So what can be done during the operation of the transformer is uh, overloading can be avoided, or it can be kept within the safe limits. Breather or air cell. These are very, I mean, basic equipment on the transformer, which, if maintained rightly, they can control the effect of external moisture on the transformer insulation. Of course, the moisture which is getting generated in the transformer because of aging, that you cannot control by way of breather and air cell. But a lot of moisture goes inside the transformer because of poorly maintained breather or punctured air cell. So they are very easy to maintain, but they play a very important role. Then power quality uh, of the system, arresters functioning and right rating and setting. Many times we find the arresters which are being put on the transformers are not rightly selected. Arresters have another issue that sometimes they don't operate, or they just burst and they don't function because of that, and the arcing happens over the surface of the arrestor. So many times the arresters, because of poor quality of the arrestor, your transformer gets affected. So setting of the arrestor, setting of the your arcing, if it you have the arcing horns, that all these things is very important as far as the operational care is concerned. Load quality as well as power quality we talked about, and effective cooling. Many times we see that the transformers are put in such a situation where sufficient airflow is not there, or if the fans are provided, the fans are not working properly, or the control circuit which is being given, that has some issues, that setting is not right, or OTA WTA settings or WTA settings which are supposed to put on the fans at particular load, that is not right. So all these factors affect the cooling of the transformer, and as a result uh, we run the transformer at a higher temperature, and higher temperature is definitely getting affecting the solid insulation. So basically, more or less, if we see, the solid insulation gets affected by three factors. One is the operating temperature, I mean the load on the transformer, ambient temperature, moisture ingress, and electrical stress. These three, four factors, if we can control reasonably, then we can avoid the permanent damage to the solid insulation. So when we say what we should do as a preventive maintenance point, then we must be checking the insulation quality. Uh, at the best, we can do all the advanced tests like Foran, a partial discharge, 10 delta capacitance, insulation resistance. Out of which insulation resistance is very, very, very cheap, and it should be done regularly. All other tests, depending upon the transformer size, severity of the application, has to be performed on the transformers. Partial discharge is can be done on the transformers above 33 kV. Furan or aging rate can be done on very old transformers, more than 15 or 20 years of age. 10 delta and capacitance you can do on the transformers, but primarily it is the EHV transformers. So all these tests, depending upon the transformer type, has to be performed so that you know that where my transformer insulation is standing. And then drying out can be, practiced. Drying out is different than oil filtration. Oil filtration not necessarily drying out the solid insulation. That is to be understood by the fact that by oil filtration, the drying out is, first of all, is it is very ineffective way of drying the insulation, and it takes long time, many times 15-20 days also goes into the filtration, and at the end you won't find that your insulation is dried out. So how to know that my insulation is has got affected by the moisture? One way is to check the PI of the transformer, and 10 delta and capacitance resistance test can give us the condition of the insulation, but that will not necessarily be because of moisture. Moisture is one of the factor, but we can, based on the operating condition, we can uh, decide, or we can infer that it can be because of moisture. So when the 10 delta trend is continuously increasing, then maybe we can think about drying out the transformers by using techniques like vapor phase drying, low frequency heating, hot oil spray, or taking the transformer from the site and sending it to OEM for the drying in the factory. So these techniques, these technologies, and these methods are to be adopted to dry the insulation. Okay, regular filtration is filtering only the oil. Okay, and we have studied, if people who have attended our program on uh, diagnostic this thing, where, sorry, on moisture, effect of moisture on the transformer, that was, I think, episode 3rd or so, where in detail we have talked about that what is the equilibrium of the moisture in the transformer, and the moisture moves from solid to liquid and liquid to solid based on the transformer loading and temperature. So this dynamic situation of the moisture plays a vital role, and most of the cases just filtration is not able to take out the moisture from the solid insulation. So drying out has to be considered on time to time. I'm not saying very frequently, but depending upon, again, the test results, uh, you should go for drying out of the transformer. Many times filtration, every year people do the filtration. That is not required most of the time, but still it is a practice in India, and it is being followed. But I don't recommend that, as that won't do anything much good to the transformer. So this is about the solid insulation. Then overloading, if you see, the overloading also affects the quality of the solid insulation. Rating plate values, the temperature limits which are given on the rating plate are at 100% load. So when you are setting your OTIs and WTIs, you should consider that what is your loading, and you can decide your own settings of alarm and trip of these devices, and need not be always at the rating plate values. So your winding temperature rating should be corresponding to the load. Many times what happens, because of some problem in the WTI, it is maybe because of wrong calibration or wrong setting from the factory itself, it shows you lower or higher temperature. So that calibration needs to be done. The duty cycle has to be maintained in any case, because exceeding the duty cycle is definitely is a recipe for killing the transformer very fast. Ideally, transformer should not be loaded more than 80%. In large power transformer situation, even 50 or 60% loading is possible. We all know that transformer gives the best efficiency somewhere around 45 to 50% of the loading. But many people feel that that is not economical, but we have proven with the calculations, and in some other programs we have shared some information, calculations, that how when you load the transformer around 40 to 50%, actually you end up saving a lot of money with that. That will be somewhere next time, not in today. So case of insulation oil, when we talk about liquid insulation, we what are the how it is different than solid insulation. Liquid insulation is that way easy to manage because first of all you can remove the moisture ingress and effect of oxidation and other contaminant by way of filtration. So you can very easily filter the oil and make it as good as a new. And even that is not possible of filtration, then you can go for reclamation and regeneration of the oil. So managing liquid insulation is much easier as compared to solid insulation. But that doesn't mean that we should ignore this. Periodic testing of oil is uh, is required and it is to be done. And as a part of preventive maintenance, oil filtration, oil reclamation, and leak arresting has to be done because leakages in the transformers are directly allowing moisture going inside the transformer. Okay, so leaks are to be not ignored and those are to be arrested at the time. How these leaks are causing the damage is when the transformer is under cooling period, when the load is less on the transformer, so there is the negative pressure gets generated inside the transformer because of contraction of the oil. And in that situation, it breathes in. So primarily it breathes through the breather, but it also breathes if there are some leaks in the transformer, some gaskets have given away. And from there, the moisture also goes inside. So even though you are maintaining the breather very nicely, you ensure that the silica gel is blue in color, your air cell is in place, but if the transformer is leaking, then the moist air is going inside the transformer during cool off period, especially in the night and winter seasons. So leaks are not to be ignored and those are to be arrested as early as possible. Leakages are more serious. They are serious for the transformers, but they are more serious for your CTs, PTs, and EHU bushings. Uh, those bushings and these components are having very little volume of the oil and they are very compact. So they are they also develop leak, and when these things leak because of very little quantity of the oil, the even smaller amount of moisture also deteriorate the insulation considerably. So if you look at the total failure data, which is available on CA site, you will find that failure of CTs, PTs, and bushings is on very high side. And many times it is found that because of bursting of CT or PT or bushing, the transformers and other allied equipments also gets affected. And many times big fires happens because of that. Mr. Palmer, I request you to put off your video. Thank you so much. Okay, so leaks are not to be ignored. Those are to be arrested very effectively. Okay, and leak arresting is itself is a big job because you have to do a lot of jugglery and activities. The bigger the transformer, bigger is the problem. So it is not to be ignored. And at primary stages of the leak starting, you should do some preventive maintenance activities so that it is not further enlarged. Then oil, when we say we can do number of tests on the transformer starting from breakdown voltage to Foran analysis or DGA. DGA and Foran analysis are diagnostic type of test, so they need not be repeated or need to be performed as a routine activity until unless there is a necessity. Okay, but breakdown voltage, ppm, dissipation factor, resistivity, acidity, interfacial tension, these tests are to be performed not every 6 months or every year, but at least once in 2 years or once in 3 years. We should also talk about tests like IFT and acidity and 10 delta. Breakdown, water content, and resistivity can be done as a more frequent test. But just doing BDV is not advisable, especially when the transformer is of higher rating. When we talk about oil testing, oil sampling plays a very important part, and we normally observe, our team normally observe that sampling is not done rightly, and a wrong sampling is as bad as not doing the test on the transformer, or even worse than that, because when you wrongly sample the oil, the test results give you something else which is actually not the situation, and you are uh, unnecessarily panicking with the wrong test results and leading to unwanted actions on the your equipment. So sampling is the starting point of diagnosis of the transformer insulation. Okay, so there is some points I mentioned over here, how it is to be done, and accordingly that should be taken care. Of course, the sample should not be taken in mineral oil bottles. They are to be proper, either glass bottles or injections or stainless steel bottles. Ideally, those bottles to be vacuumed and flushed with the dry nitrogen, and then the oil sample is to be taken. But it is followed very, very rarely. Okay. These are the recommended values of transformer in service as far as the oil parameters are concerned, depending upon different voltage classes. You can take a call on whether my oil is good or not. Okay. Now coming to protection devices and other components, these are the top three failure-prone components in the transformer. Number one is the windings, of course, because everything comes ultimately on the winding. So winding failure is highest, that is 65%. But winding failures are not attributed only to the winding. There are several other factors, as I said, which contribute ultimately. Because those factors are ignored, then the ultimate stress or impact come on the winding, and winding has to fail at the end. So that's why winding failure are highest, followed by tap changer failure. It is 12.4%. Okay, so OLTC and OCTC, off circuit tap switches, they are the weakest link, we can say, in the transformer. Those are the only component which moves, otherwise everything else is stationary. So tape changers, because of their nature, because of the kind of function they perform, they are liable to fail more, and this further gets aggravated if they are not maintained properly. If the maintenance is overlooked, then further the OLTC fails. So it is being deliberated, and it is almost decided that the transformers which are in um, transmission network up to 220 kV, probably OLTCs will be removed, or the transformer which are in service, the OLTCs will not be used as such. So that several operation of the OLTCs causes different type of problems, different transients and other issues, and because of that, transformer failures has been found increasing. So that is one thing. So at the beginning of the power system, starting point of the power system, OLTCs are not required, and as well as the end point of the power system, which is the distribution point or consumer point, there also the tap switches is not required. So tap switches, if wherever it is must to be used, then the tap switches have to be there. Otherwise, they better if they are not used. Third is the bushing failure, which is 10.33%. Bushings, as I look at them, they are the link between internal of the transformer and the external world. So they are connecting both the worlds by way of their connection, and they are the live part which are directly in contact with the environment, and all the environmental brunt is faced by the bushings. So bushings are punished in a big way, and because of failure of the bushings, the transformer also fails. So if you look at the winding failure, it might be possible that many of the windings have failed because of the problem in the bushings. So monitoring of the bushings, their testing on time to time is very much required, and those are the component which to be taken care, maintained very, very carefully and timely. So if you look at why the bushing fails, then sorry, I am, yeah, this is the three categories. And if you look at failure modes, the There's another data over here where coils are failing, 34% are short circuit happening. Then bushing failure here 20%, OLTC is 26%, and leak again 20%. So if you see here, the sequence is almost same, and further leak is also added over here. That leakage also causes the transformers to fail. In 20% of the total transformer fail, it was happened because of leakages. Especially if you look at the small distribution transformers, pole mounted transformers, those transformers they don't have many times they are without conservator, and sometimes conservator is also there, but because of leakage the oil keeps on leaking, and the oil level drops below the HV leads which are going to bushing, and there is not rightly maintained, so all wet air has gone inside, and all this deadly combination of moisture, oxygen, and low oil level causes sparking in the transformer, and as a result it catches fire. The fire starts, the pressure builds up, and it explodes like a bomb. Okay. 2 years back there was incident in Rajasthan. My friend in Rajasthan know that a pole mounted transformer was busted and many people died. So these kind of failures are quite common because of leakages. So leakage can lead to the transformer failure. So leakages are not to be ignored. So let us look at bushings. What are they, and what kind of issues with them? So we have on the lower voltage side, we have porcelain type of bushings with drought type metal part. Okay, they have excellent thermal performance, ideal for outdoor applications. Okay, then we have epoxy molded bushings, which are now quite popular as they are very easy to use. Very easily they can be customized, very easy to put, very little parts, only one gasket is there, so chances of leakage is very little. So they are getting popularity, but they have other defects, like their thermal behavior is not that good. So in solar transformers particularly, we see that these kind of bushings are not able to withstand the thermal dynamic stresses, and they are giving away and leaking. So our service team, spend a lot of time in attending these kind of issues when the transformer bushings have failed in case of solar applications. On the contrary, high voltage bushing, if you see, there are two kind of bushings now available. Is one is oil impregnation or paper OIP bushing, and these bushings typically work on the principle of capacitance, where you alternate layers of aluminum foil and insulation paper like this. So it forms the capacitance. So you get a very good voltage, operating voltage because of this capacitive design. So you get a compact bushing, comparatively compact bushing, capable of taking up higher voltages. Second development is resin impregnated paper kind of bushings, where there is no oil. In this OIP bushing, you have a small conservator at the top, which is filled with the oil, and this paper is soaked in the oil, and this conservator keeps on replenishing the oil and keeping the paper wet with the oil. So this causes several issues like leaking of the oil, or because of there is an air seal, so moisture goes inside and leading to different kind of issues. On the contrary, RIP bushings or resin impregnated paper bushings are that way solid. There is no oil inside. There is a dry foam, and the composite insulation is filled in it. So they are maintenance free and very easy to handle. They are lightweight. Leakages are very little. Partial discharge incidences are not that much, and they are actually maintenance free. Okay, so if you look at the bushing failures, this is the pie chart which is showing you the different reasons of the bushing failures. So if you see, 32% cases are because of overheating of the bushing, where the bushing is overheating. Why bushing should overheat? So primarily because of poor contact or loosening of the contacts or cables or joints or whatever it is. So that causes the increasing of the contact resistance, local contact resistance, and overheating happens. Other reason could be the load on the transformer, that if that is also high, then bushing will overheat. Then second category is crack and rupture. The bushings crack or fail because of pressure development inside or some mechanical damage or excessive stress. Third reason is the leakage and oil seal damage, followed by flashover, and then several reasons contributing to 6%. So this is how the bushings fail. Different causes for leakages, there is no rocket science, there is a seal and gasket quality which is causing the leak. Second is the cable or the overhead conductor which is coming to the bushing is causing the pull on the cable on the bushing, and that is causing the failure of the bushing. So replacing the seal is the long-term solution. That is the only long-term solution. If you are tightening it, okay, fine, you can tighten it, but rest be sure, after some time again you will going to get the leakage from the stem joint, because gaskets are single-use component. They cannot be reused. They cannot be retightened. So if you are using a gasket, it forms, it makes a seat at the place, and it forms in that place. So that form cannot be changed if you are tightening it. So that form get disturbed and the leak will stop for a time being, but then it will occur with more severity. So long-term solution, permanent solution of oil leak, gasket leak is replacement of the gasket only. There are compounds also available, epoxy compounds are available, which are put on the gaskets as a coating, and you can plug the leaks by that. But again, after maybe 2 years or 3 years, again the leak will start coming from there. Okay. Then cable supports are to be carefully maintained, or their tension is to be properly adjusted so that they're not pulling the bushings down or up, so that the bushing may fail. Okay, glanding sometimes also we found it is not right. The gland is not holding the cable, and cable is freely moving in the gland, and because of that, all the weight of the cable comes on the bushing, and it causes leakage. Cracking, rupture, again cable pull stress is the reason, and overloading also causes the failure of the bushing, cracking of the bushing. So of course the load is to be moderated. Overheating happens because of overloading and loose connections. Ultimately, these loose connections causes the resistance, contact resistance high, and as a result, you get the local heating, and it causes the overheating. So contact resistance and periodic tightening is the solution. To check the contact resistance, thermal scanning can also be done, which can tell you that which is the contact which is getting deteriorated. There are several, there is another method which we recommend and we suggest, which is our solutions, which we'll be discussing at the end, which can detect the poor contact much earlier than actual damage starts happening. So actually you don't run up in this situation of overheating of the contact with that solution. Okay, flashover is because of pollution. So petrol or water wash of EHV bushings is recommended, and it is done also. You can also go with a coating of silicone, liquid silicone sprays on the bushings, so that is a permanent kind of solution or long-term solution, because this coating once done on the bushing will not allow the pollution to get affected the surface condition. Lightning surges causes the flashover, and correct arresters and GIS setting can be done. Insulation failure, the bushing insulation itself has gone, then nothing can be done. We have to replace the bushing. Then other factors like internal, there could be some issue which can be arrested with the help of OEM. Now coming to OLTC and OCTCs, on-load tape changers are the devices which is a very complicated equipment. Okay, it is the only moving part in a transformer, and it is put on the transformer to get the constant output voltage. Okay, so it is a make before switch. You can see this in circuit. You can see in this how this is operating. You can see before this moves, already the circuit is completed in some other contact, and the previous contact gets opened. So this is how make before switch arrangement works, so that at no point of time the circuit is being broken. So your continuity of the power is maintained by this arrangement. Okay, so it prevents arcing during switching. Okay, but it is not eliminating the arcing, because when switching happening there is a high resistor, which is called a dynamic resistance, that comes in the circuit, and that causes the increasing of the resistance and lowering of the current. So that way you are providing a parallel path, and that's how the continuity of the supply is maintained even when the voltage is being adjusted by operating of the OLTC. So you can see that this is a complex phenomenon, complex mechanism, so which is causing some kind of disturbances, like arcing does happen. It is not perfectly arcing proof. Okay, so more number of the operations, the more is the arcing in the OLTC chamber, and the pitting of the contacts and damage of the moving and fixed contacts happen. So it is used in where you want continuous supply, or there is a very high level of voltage fluctuations, or you have a very sensitive system, operating system, where you cannot afford the voltage fluctuations and the higher power quality whenever you require. So this is the OLTC which is looked from inside. This is the OLTC which is being put to the transformer, connected to the transformer. Okay, it is a in-tank type, and these in-tank type OLTCs are normally used for voltages more than 33 kV. Now, further developments have happened, and now these OLTCs are available at lower voltages also, 11 kV and lower than 11 kV, and also you can use the in-tank type of OLTC, which are very compact, and uh, it can be put in the tank mounted on the cover. So you can use those OLTCs for in-tank also. And there are tank mounted OLTCs which are available up to 132 kV voltage classes. So OLTC causes and action, the number one action when it is an in-tank OLTC, there is a flashover in the diverter switch. The excessive flashover happens because of moisture in the oil or carbon due to arcing. So moisture in the oil, of course, oil maintenance is required, and dynamic resistance if getting deteriorated, then also arcing increases and carbon gets formed. Second is mechanical failure because of wear and tear, and there could be disturbances in the shaft alignment, and that can cause the severe arcing in the OLTC, and which can lead to the failure. So the key to this is periodic maintenance of the OLTCs. Then you will find carbon on the contacts. There's a pyrolytic carbon on the contacts because of sulfur in the oil, and that is normally found on the unused contacts. So it is advisable that as a preventive maintenance activity, the OLTC should be operated over the full range in a dummy situation, so that that carbon deposit is getting wiped off. This carbon deposit can cause arcing, excessive arcing. That's why it has to be cleaned off. Then spring tension is gets affected, so spring quality could be an issue, so you can replace and correct. So OLTC is something which requires to be maintained quite often, and the OLTC supplier decides the maintenance frequency based on the number of operations or number of cycles. So that is to be respected. The number of cycles specified by the OLTC manufacturer, the OLTC maintenance has to be done as per that schedule. Like your four-wheeler or two-wheeler, you follow the maintenance schedule based on the kilometers. So that here it is number of cycles which is to be respected. Best practice, if I suggest, then operate the OLTC as less as possible. If it is absolutely necessary, then only operate the OLTC. So keep your settings, AVR settings, and a wider band, so that OLTC is not operating unnecessarily quite often. Now coming to winding in coils, the short circuit happens in the transformer winding because of external short circuits. That is can be because of fault in the cable or bus duct. So you can do this thermal scanning and aging of the cable can be checked. Bus insulation can be monitored and checked on time to time. Load side failures happens because of because of different reasons. So fault current, it can be limited by putting series reactors in the circuit. Internal issues, there are several issues in the transformer, can be there because of manufacturing defect, or can occur because of service of the transformer, service condition of the transformer, that is looseness in the winding, coil movement in the transformer, severe vibrations. So all these uh, effect can be checked by conducting the SFRI testing, which can tell you that everything is right inside the transformer and nothing movement or vibrations or loosenesses happen in the transformer. Then insulation shrinkage happen due to excessive drying. If suppose transformer is dried in the factory beyond a limit, then it uh, gets looseness in the winding, and such transformer can fail at the site. So insulation failure is another reason. Partial discharges can causes internal partial discharges can cause ultimate damage to the winding conductor, and which can lead to the short circuit of the transformer. Then core shorting is another aspect which causes slow heating of the winding, excessive but slow heating of the winding, and causing the uh, decay of the covering of the conductor, and which leads to the failure of the coils. Okay, so advanced test which can be done on the transformer can give you some idea about such kind of phenomena if it is happening inside the transformer. Now coming to other devices and components, I will be quick over here. I will not explain the device as such. Because relay, you all know it is a gas operated device and works on the buoyancy principle. Okay, here you can see the gas is getting formed and it is rising above and it is operating this float. Okay, so this float gets operated and you get a signal and you can use it as an alarm. If further gas gets generated, then you get the lower float operates and you can use it for the trip circuit. So this is a beautiful protection device and can give you a lot of comfort from the incipient bigger failures. So it is to be, if you want to keep it in function, it is very important that you should be doing functional checks. Functional checks means there are two floats or two contacts. By simulating the gas condition, the operation of these floats has to be checked on time to time. Then leakages, again, it is oil filled device, so there could be some leakages. So because of leakage also, there could be some gas get collected when the transformer is on lower load. So leakages has to be arrested and any electrical loose contact has to be tightened. Now temperature indicators are again are the, because they are the thermal images, basically they are giving you the thermal image of the transformer loading and temperature. Here is a bellow. You see this bellow is there, which is nothing but a mechanical device, and it is like a spring, and it gets expanded when there is a oil inside it is getting heated. So as the oil is expanding, this bellow will get expand, and this expansion or increasing the length of the bellow is converted to for in the movement of the pointer. So this is how you get the indication of the temperature. In WTI, you have additional heater, which is being fed by the output of the WTI CT, which is put on the on the on the terminals, most probably LV or HV also. So the current in the heater is proportional to the load on the transformer. So the heat generated around the bellow is proportional to the load, and that's how you calibrate the meter to indicate the winding temperature. So it is not a direct reading, it is indirect measurement. So it is also called the image of this thing. So it is critical that the calibration of the WTI is to be done. The WTI coming from factory are not set to indicate exact hotspot, because gradient is exact gradient is only can be known by performing the temperature rise test on the transformer. So if you want to get true hotspot reading of the WTI, you can do it by measuring the gradient by conducting the temperature rise test and then setting the register of the WTI accordingly. Then only it will show you the hotspot temperature. Otherwise, it will show you something in between average and hotspot temperature. Okay, so that is an important point. Pressure relief device, these are spring-loaded diaphragms, nothing specific about it, but they play important role as they indicate they work as a pressure relief mechanism like our pressure cooker valve. So when the pressure goes inside more, this spring gets operated and the oil comes out of the transformer. So you are keeping the transformer safe from the explosion. So transformer will not explode because of some problem in the transformer. So operation of the spring pressure relief device is to be taken very, very seriously because the excessive pressure which is getting generated can be because of some severe reason, severe short in the transformer or some other problem. So you can very easily set back the PRD and resume the operation, but please do the proper investigation that why the PRV is operated. And after finding out, after conducting some basic electrical tests like MBT or ratio or just insulation resistance, if you find everything right, then only you reset and then resume the operation. It is true for even Buchholz relay also. When Buchholz relay is getting operated, we find that many times people just release the air from the Buchholz relay or gas from the Buchholz relay, reset it and restart the transformer. And eventually the transformer fails because of such careless action towards this thing. So operation of protective devices, especially Buchholz relay, OSR, PRD are to be taken very seriously, and transformers to be recharged only when you have made doubly sure that everything is fine inside the transformer, because these devices will not operate just like that because of no reason. Okay, so that is to be taken care. For large transformers, the PRD is also subjected to calibration, where they are taken back from the transformer and calibrated either at the manufacturer end or at laboratories, so that you are sure that they are operating at their defined temperature. Okay, leak arresting, of course, it is a pressure relief device. It is it has to be leak proof, so any oil coming out of it is to be arrested. And you have got a micro switch or limit switch on this device, so you can maintain it the way you maintain any electrical circuits. Oil switch relay like Buchholz relay, it is not a Buchholz relay, it is actually oil actuated device. It is a surge actuated device, and it is provided in the OLTC. So Buchholz and OSR are not interchangeable. They got their own function, they got their own way of working. Okay, so since OLTC is subjected to oil surges, especially when the OLTC is operating and huge arcing is happening inside, so there is a disturbance that is getting created in the oil because of the force of the arc, and because of that force, oil gets disturbed and a surge occurs inside the OLTC, and that oil surge raises towards conservator, and when this OSR is in the circuit, so this OSR because of the surge gets operated. So it is not gas operated, okay, it is surge operated. So when OSR is getting operated, it is an indication that there is an excessive arcing happening inside the OLTC. So you should look at the OLTC that why that excessive arcing is happening. Maybe you have to take immediate shutdown and do the necessary maintenance or replacement of the defective contacts, or you have to hold the OLTC operation and continue with the transformer working. So that is about the OSR. Okay. So again, like other devices, basic maintenance care can be taken of this thing. Now coming to breathers, you know, it is I love this device. It is such a simple arrangement, but if maintained properly, it can save your transformer from the effect of excessive moisture. But only thing, during the routine activities, it is not maintained, and normally you find the silica gel is in pink color. That means it is moist. The moisture has gone into it. Okay, so it is reusable. So you have a wet gel, you heat it by some means, and you will get again blue gel, which is dry gel. So you can dry the gel by simple heating and get it back. So it is very easy that way. Now to save the people even that much pain, now self-dehydrating type of breathers are available, which are having a heating element inside, operated by microprocessor, and it is very sophisticated way it keeps your silica gel dry, and that way this equipment is very effective in keeping the transformers protecting from external moisture. Internal moisture, of course, would be there, but external moisture impact can be saved by this. Okay, so on-time dehydration, and this gel gets powder after some time. It gets broken down into smaller particles, so it ultimately becomes powdery. So you have to replace. You can see here there is a vacant space over here. That is because the gel has settled or got converted to powder. So there you are finding it is not there. So you can keep on replenishing with the new as you find that you are finding the empty space in the breather. Okay. Third thing is the flexi separator or air cell, which is the advancement over the plain breather. In this case, the breather is mounted on the air cell. This is the outlet of the air cell, and this is the breather pipe. So breather is mounted on this, and that's how the external air doesn't come into the contact of the oil inside the conservator, and your oil practically remains out of touch from the external moisture. So now when you are put this air cell in the place, the only moisture you have to deal with in the transformer is the internal moisture which is getting generated in the transformer. Now if you are keeping the transformer uh, uh, loaded lightly, means below 50%, so it will not generate, it will not get overloaded, so no excessive heat will get generated. So as no excessive heat is getting generated, so the moisture generation in the transformer also will be less. So as a result, your filtration cycle will get extended, your aging rate will get increased, slow down, so your aging will slow down, your filtration cycle will be fewer. So that way you are actually protecting the transformer in a much better way. But these air cells also got their own set of issues. Many times it is found that because of wrong design size calculation, either they are big or too small, so they won't do the function rightly. Air cell installation is a meticulous process. It requires skill. So sometimes because of some reason, if the air cell get discharged, then the charging of the air cell is to be done by the skilled people. So we do all these activities at site. So we have our people who are doing this air cell maintenance and this thing. Sometimes they get punctured because ultimately it is a rubber bag. So this rubber bag gets punctured. It is a joint. Such a big joint is there. This joint sometimes get opened. So it is having its own problem. So you have to be careful about air cell working condition. So by looking at the emoji, you will know that whether my oil level indication is correct. So if it is not correct, then you can conclude that your air cell has got some problem. Okay. And funny thing is that attending this problem is not that big, but finding out the problem is a bigger issue. For example, if you have to attend this problem, you need a filtration machine, you need a nitrogen cylinder, you need a scaffolding or ladder, and you need a skilled people. So all those things is required to attend this small problem. So, and besides this, the shutdown time which you have to have. But of course, it is the best possible protection against the moist air of the transformer. So it has to be there wherever the critical is there. In order to detect the air cell defect or puncture, now air cell protection relays are available, which you can put on your conservator, and you will get a signal when air cell has stopped functioning or it has developed a leak. So this will tell you, this fellow will tell you that your air cell is not working. So you can use this small device. Okay. Preventive maintenance point is leak test is to be done if you have some doubt on it. Puncture repair, normally a puncture kit is provided with the bag, and you must ensure that you are getting this puncture kit from your transformer supplier when you are getting the transformer. Normally it is left in the factory, it rarely reaches the site, and of course the air cell supplier also can provide you the repair kits. It is very easy to repair. It is like repairing a cycle puncture. Okay, emoji calibration is to be done if there is some issue, and air cell charging. So these are the preventive maintenance points for the air cell. Okay, so general common care, if you look at from the component point of view, is loose connections, rusting, corrosion is likely to happen of your enclosures, your boxes, marshalling boxes, OLTC boxes, panels. They are likely to get rusted. So anti-rust sprays or painting is required to be done. Mock test to be done of all the protection devices. They are to be simulated by nitrogen or other method so that you know that in case of actual need, those contacts are operating. Okay, so your fuses, MCBs, alarm bells, control supply continuity, cable continuity, these small points, termite, rodents, reptiles. Many times you find that the door of the panel is left open and the termite gets into it. Sometimes rodent also, snakes also are found in the panels. So that causes the malfunctioning of your protection system of the transformer. So this is to be done for a small protection devices maintenance point of view. Protection devices are easy to maintain, but they are required to be maintained, and that has to be included in your routine preventive maintenance program. Now, other than this, what else can be done as far as the transformer maintenance is concerned? So we have put 3 points over here. One is the periodic comprehensive testing, data monitoring, and routine preventive care. Periodic preventive testing, normally we do various tests as our routine maintenance part of activities, like we do insulation resistance, we do oil tests like oil BDV, oil PPM. We do the voltage ratio measurement of the transformers. So besides that, once in a while, depending upon the criticality and the transformer size, we should do some detailed testing of the transformer so that we are comfortable and we are at peace that everything is right with the transformer. So other than basic tests like insulation, voltage ratio, winding resistance, 10 delta and capacitance, partial discharge, shift frequency response analysis, terminal contact resistance, and thermography. These tests are recommended to be done on the transformer, and oil test, which we have talked about, Furan and DGA, those two tests are also must be done. DGA is a little bit more frequent compared to Furan. Furan you can do when your transformer is reaching towards the older age, cross 10-15 years, then you can do the Furan analysis. We have talked about all these advanced tests in our previous program, so I am not going into detail of these tests. We have explained in detail how these tests are to be done, what are the implications, what are the equipment, what are the circuits, everything we have been explaining in our previous programs. But I'm just talking about these tests have their own importance, so these are to be performed. When it comes to oil test, as we said, breakdown voltage, water content, and acidity. These are to be done routinely. Just do not do BDV, do water content and acidity also. Once in a while, frequency again is up to you, 10 delta, capacitance, interfacial tension, and DGA. We are doing DGA not to check the oil, but we are doing DGA basically to see the overall insulation condition in the transformer or overall condition of the transformer as such. So DGA is basically tells you about various factors, including your condition of the contacts. It is telling you about some arcing is happening or not. It is telling you the insulation is decaying fast. It is telling you where is some hotspot is getting towards severe situation, whether a transformer is giving some other kind of problems, whether the gas is generating because of your insulation moisture, whether the moisture is very high. So all these things you can find out by doing DGA. So DGA is done not as an oil test, but it should be done as a transformer analysis test. Okay, so 10 delta and capacitance of the oils should be done separately. Interfacial testing should be done. So these tests are to be performed on the oil on time to time. Okay, when it comes to OLTC oil testing, OLTC oil has to be tested more frequently than compared to the transformer. Okay, you can do the DGA also on the OLTC oil, but normally DGA doesn't give you much result because in OLTC the oil gets deteriorated only because of the arcing or creation of the carbon. So there is nothing else is getting is causing the gases to be generated. So normally you find acetylene in the OLTC is high. So it doesn't help much when you conduct the DGA on the OLTC oil. So depending upon the oil condition, carbon content, contamination, uh, you can decide of replacement of the oil, because normally in OLTC, especially in tank OLTC, the oil quantity is very little. So you can replace it with the new one. And out tank OLTC, you can go for filtration. And maybe after few years of working, you can think of replacement of the oil. But again, in case of OLTC, I would suggest that you follow the O&M manual of the OLTC supplier. Then contact resistance, dynamic resistance, AVR testing, and electrical mechanical operation. So when you invite OLTC maintenance people, they will do all these tests, and it is advisable that only the experts should be called to do these tests on the AVR testing can be done by your own people, as well as electrical mechanical operation can be done. So OLTC is another thing which is to be maintained and tested as a comprehensive testing program of your transformer. So what happens when we get some abnormal test results? So I have put some of the tests over here, not all of the tests. For example, if you get a capacitance and 10 delta test results abnormal, means you are getting high 10 delta. So the reason could be there is a high moisture ingress, or there is a high electrical stress, or aging. Or partial discharge also will give you the 10 delta values deterioration. So actions could be drying out of the solid insulation, is oil regeneration, oil replacement, or replace or refurbish the your, in that case, oil. Okay. Drying out of solid insulation, as we discussed, ultimately when 10 delta and capacitance tests are decisions to be taken based on the trends being noticed. So always the today's test results are to be compared with the previous test results, and that way you should draw the trends and see the rate of deterioration. And if you find that there is a severe increase in the deterioration rate of the test values, then accordingly you can decide the uh, action of drying out the solid insulation. Because drying out of solid insulation is again a complex activity, time consuming activity. So it is to be done only when it is very much required. And as we said earlier, drying solid insulation uh, is irreversibly get damaged, irreversibly gets aged. So that threshold should be always watched. That it shouldn't get that much amount of moisture that beyond that we cannot do anything, and the transformer life gets reduced because of that delay in drying out the solid insulation. Okay, partial discharge test. If it is failing in the partial discharge, it indicates inside local deterioration. There might be already a void or some other sharp point from where the insulation breakdown is happening, and it is got this thing. Moisture ingress also could be reason, especially in small components like bushing, CTs, and PTs. Inside OLTC, if the arcing is happening, especially in tank OLTC, and aging of the insulation. So partial discharge, if we get bad result, then some confirmatory test is to be performed before taking any decision. An internal inspection of the transformer for any effects, CTPTs and OIP bushings and OLTC has to be done. SFRA test results indicate internal movement, looseness in the winding or in the clamping arrangement, or there is some lead has got open, or some joint has broken, the lead is broken. So it calls for the internal inspection. So after SFRA, the transformer is to be internally inspected And if some looseness or something is found, then it is to be corrected. SFRI test is basically is a you can say confirmatory test, especially in the large power transformers when the transformer is traveling from the factory to the site. It is possible that there could be some movement of the insulation blocks or some other components of the winding movement. And if the transformer, this transformer will pass all the commissioning tests, but it may fail when the charging is done. So to prevent that possibility, the SFRI test is repeated and it is compared with the factory report, the test which is done in the factory. And if both the signatures are matching, then the transformer is taken for commissioning, else the internal inspection is necessary to be performed. Okay. So winding or terminal resistance is increasing, so contact erosion, corrosion is happening, that is a direct indication. And again, there could be poor joint because of various reasons. So it calls again for the internal inspection, replacement of worn out contacts or switch, and crimping so many times gets opened. So crimping joints to be checked and corrected accordingly. Oil test results, acidity could be high, moisture and grease in the oil, overheating and because of load or the temperature, and contamination. So the action could be filtration, regeneration. If both are not working, then replacement of the oil. Okay, so this is about the conformity test. Now coming to data monitoring. Data monitoring is now picking up the trend everywhere, including India, and a lot of emphasis is being given on the collection and analysis of the data. Various smart devices are available for data acquisition. That is like your smart breathers are there, then hybrid temperature indicators, OTA, WTI both. Then online DGA, this is the online DGA monitoring equipments are there. Online filtration, this is Transec. We deal in this device. We are authorized representative for this. So Transec is the device which filters the oil online without any disturbance to your continuity of the service, without any need of taking the shutdown, and preventing and protecting your production loss because you are not switching off the transformer, and it keeps on absorbing the moisture from the oil and also from the solid insulation because it breaks that thermal equilibrium condition which doesn't happen in case of routine oil filtration. So this is again a very smart device as far as the oil filtration is concerned. Then online monitoring devices are available like this one. Again, we are providing such devices to our customers who is interested. This monitors various parameters of the transformer and it gives you all the intelligence on your smart devices, including your mobile phones. So that data is to be collected and used for the betterment. Many times we get from our customers that we every year we do a lot of testing, lot of reports we get, but we are not able to use the data it is coming to us. So that was the case till very recently, where many organizations follow the maintenance and testing guidelines and frequencies and scheduled regularly, but all those reports just goes into the files and that data is not put into the use. So the time has come that the data has to be used for the longevity of the system and uninterrupted service of the transformers. Now, routine preventive care, if we see here, few points about the maintenance of the transformer. One is the follow the O&M manual, which is the Bible for the transformer user. Record major parameters. We talked about data monitoring over here. Again, OTA, WTI alarms to be set according to your load, not as per the factory set values. Condition of breather, condition of bushings, dust, dirt, leakage, cracks, overheat, marks, corrosion, all is to be taken and attacked on time. Condition of fans for vibration, noise, and overheating. Recently, we are facing problem at some site that the water is going inside the fans because of some manufacturing defect. So in the service also, long service also, the water can go in the terminal box and your fans can fail. So that also should be taken care. Cables, your tight clamps support, no excessive tension on the cables. Earthing, we all know it is to be maintained. Then all protection devices, protection circuits, protection components to be kept for right fuses. They should be in working condition. Alarm improved circuits on time to time mock test or dry test to be done. Vegetation around the plant is to be fire hazard, plot of fire. Incidents happens because of oil leakage substantiated by the presence of dry grass in the substation and causes the small spark into a big fire. Okay. Soil contamination, oil spillage on the ground. It is the damage to the environment and which is to be avoided at all cost. Recommended preventive maintenance schedule is data monitoring frequency daily or on continuous basis. If you have the devices, you can monitor the data uninterrupted and the data to be analyzed at least on weekly basis. Then cleaning of bushing terminals, drying of bushings with hot air blower based on environment is if the humidity is high in rainy days, then you can dry the bushing very often. This bushing drying with hot air blower is sometimes is very important where your cable box is air filled and the moisture, I mean the humidity is high. Silica gel replacement charging, it is condition based. Breather cape cleaning and oil leveling, very small activity but important activity. It is again condition based. Tightening of STLT connection, that is to be done monthly and it is to be done against with the torque range. Torque values you should get from your OEM and follow those torque value and keep your connection tightened at those torques only. Okay, cleaning of contacts to remove corrosion, erosion. You can apply gels and greases on the exposed terminal so that they won't get corroded because of moist and humid air. Overhauling servicing of OLTC based on the number of cycles. Oil filtration, again condition based, I would say condition based, not time based. And only after seeing the test results that the values are deteriorating, then only the filtration should be done, else it should not be done. Oiling, greasing of fan motors, OLTC motors, gear pumps half yearly, once in 6 months. Servicing of control circuits, contest cleaning again half yearly. And primer, paint touch-up, de-rusting, all those activities once in a year. It is a broad this thing just to give the idea. It is not something that this only to be followed. Based on your situation, you can relax or tighten the frequencies accordingly. Okay, there are some additional points about dry type transformers. Dry type transformers are very sensitive to dust and moisture, especially when the enclosure is ventilated type. So adequate care to be taken in terms of vacuum cleaning and hot air drying. Okay, it can be in your monthly PM schedule. Okay, then all these cores and steel parts are exposed to the environment. Okay, they are not into the oil, so that they are prevented from the moisture or rust. So they are more likely to get rusted, especially core, which is a magnetic steel and it is an active component of the transformer, that gets rusted if not protected by a proper anti-corrosive or anti-rust coat on the core. So that is to be seen. Then dry type transformers are very susceptible for vibrations because there is no damping material like oil. So your all the impact of the this thing looseness comes on the winding, and as a result many times your conductors and contacts become loose and you get all related issues like poor contact, high contact resistance, arcing over there just because of vibrations. Okay, so there are on time to time tightness is to be ensured, all the hardware to be tightened of the dry type transformers whenever you're doing the PM schedule, and check for the loosenesses, torque wrenches to be used for all metal to metal contacts, Vibration pits normally are provided at different locations in the dye-type transformers. So those vibration pits to be checked visually for their deterioration or over compression, because after some time the pad become rigid and they won't absorb the vibrations. Okay, thermal hotspots are present in the CRT transformer especially, and care should be taken this those are not exceeded. So thermal scanning is a very important tool for the dye type transformers. In oil field transformers, thermal scanning has got its own limitation because everything is inside the tank. But in dye type transformers, you can actually do the scanning of the windings very nice way, very effective way, and you can actually know that there are the hotspot and you can do something about it, okay, before some catastrophic failure happens. So that's why thermal scanning has to be a routine check in dye type transformers. Since they are ventilated enclosures, they are notorious for the damage due to snakes and lizards and birds and all those things. Termite is another problem with these kind of enclosures. So adequate cleaning, etc., has to be done. Enclosures are to be kept, the doors to be kept perfectly locked and closed to prevent this thing. Bottom plates, gland plates should not have excessive unwanted openings so that this thing happens. In some cases, even water also goes inside from the bottom when the flood happens. So while installing the transformer, this aspect is to be taken that the flooding, there should not be any possibility of flooding of that area. Okay, so that is about dry type transformers. We recommend some of the equipments in with the O&M team of the transformers, like digital insulation tester, clip-on emitter, okay, BDV test set, PPM test set, acidity test kit. Okay, this is the acidity test kit. It is a very portable kind of thing, and very easily you can check the oil acidity by using this kind of small tools. Basically, they are different chemicals and syringes and some paper, and you get such kind of color codes when you do the acidity, and which tells you the severity of the acid in the oil. Of course, it is a preliminary test. Before taking any action, you must send the sample to a proper lab and get the acidity done. Then you go for the filtration or whatever activity you want to do. Laser type non-contact temperature gun or meter. It is now very popular. Everybody is aware of these uses. Then earth resistance meter. This is the earth resistance meter, which is again not a very costly equipment, but very useful equipment. Phase sequence meter has to be there. Sound level meter, especially when you are having right type transformers, it is a good idea to have a sound level meter in your this thing. Torque wrenches, hot air blower, okay, and the thermal scanner, thermal scan. It is optional because it is a costly device, but if you can, you should have it. Okay, so this is about the recommended equipment in a laboratory. Okay, so key takeaways if we see from today's program is transformer dependence on environment, build and service quality. These three factors which are the performance factors of the transformer. Protection devices to be maintained properly, help detection of fault at very early stage. Insulation health is the key for trouble-free operation. Bushing, OLTC, and windings are the most sensitive part, and they fail more often. So a good care has to be taken of these devices. Then periodic testing, comprehensive testing has to be performed on time to time. Here I would say uh, all these periodic testing, if you are doing, I mean you are doing, and all these things you are doing. So whenever you are stuck up, don't hesitate to contact the transformer manufacturer and take their expert opinion before going ahead with the next level of action. Like if some problem comes or some tripping happens, then before charging, discuss with the transformer manufacturer or a good service provider and take their opinion. Experts also to be consulted. And when they say yes, everything is fine, then you go ahead with the this thing. So any kind of advanced support if you require, approach the right people, right person, and then take their help. Don't try to do everything on your own, because some of the activities are require high skill, and they are to be done by the rightly skilled person only. Like a small example is air saline give. Okay. So maintenance of oil quality is to be important for trouble-free working, but excessive filtration, on the contrary, is also not to be done, because that also causes a damage to the insulation quality. Okay, recommended PM schedule is for your, guidance, and you can moderate it or make it more stringent according to your situation. So this is about today's topic. Now I will share some brief information about different solutions we are providing. We are providing technical consultancy as well as supply of both type of ester fluids, that is uh, natural ester as well as synthetic ester. These are the K-class insulating liquids having flash point more than 300 degrees centigrade, and synthetic and natural both esters are available, and they are better than your mineral oil. Natural ester is 100% biodegradable. It has got excellent overload capabilities, and it can enhance transformer life by 1.5 to 2 times. Even old transformer also, their life also can be extended reasonably. So all advantages of mineral oil and dry type transformers are obtained when you are going for ester filled transformers. Your old transformers also can be retrofilled with these fluids, and they can give you good amount of advantage. Extension of life is one of such advantage. So detailed we can share if you are interested. Our second solution is online moisture management system from Streamer Electric Switzerland, which is again a smart solution, and it is a continuous drying out of the moisture and monitoring also, not only removing the moisture but monitoring also, because it has got sophisticated monitoring devices which can be connected to your SCADA, and also web connectivity is possible, and you can get different types of trends of parameters including ppm, temperature, uh, so that way you will know how dry is your oil. Okay, so you don't have to have any shutdown of the transformer. Installation is very easy, and most important point is the dissolved gas data, which is very important for the DGA, is not removed. I mean, dissolved gases are not removed, which normally happens in the filtration processes, because your mechanical filtration takes out all the gases along with the vacuum. And when you do the DGA after filtration, you get the wrong understanding that everything is fine, my DGA results are good. Actually, that must not be the case. In this case, in this device, all the gases remain in the oil, and whenever you do the DGA, you will get the true picture of the internal situation. It is very cost effective, very cost effective, because it saves a lot of time, money, and efforts. Okay, it is very easy to install. It is just around 100 to 120 kgs. Two people can put it on the transformer. You can mount it on the wall. You can mount it on the floor. So a lot of flexibility is available with the device, and it is helping lot many people in keeping the transformer dry in all the conditions. Our third solution is from Motwane, that is online parameters monitoring. It is IoTX based system, which takes the signals of your already available devices on the transformer like OTI, WTI, glucose relay, MOG, and it collects the information from the transformer and transmits it to your devices through way of this small box, which can be put on the transformer, and you get all the information on your different devices. The data is stored on the cloud, so anytime you can access, and perfect data security is also ensured. So it becomes very easy to monitor the transformer without going close to the transformer. So even sitting even kilometers away from your site, you will know that yes, everything is fine at your place. And it is a non-invasive installation. Very easily it can be done. And n number of parameters can be monitored based on this system. Okay. The fourth solution which we provide is Fibris, which is for electrical panels where because of poor contact, because of your overheating, a lot of damage happens, fire happens. So this system detects such probable points where the fire can start because of deterioration in the contact resistance. So it detects that resistance much early. It is based on the gas technology where a gas is released from these kind of stickers which are put on any contacts. So as far as the transformer is concerned, these can be put in your cable boxes near the cables, in your control panels, your LV bushings where you feel that there is a heating happening, especially solar transformers where a lot of issues are coming because of heat in the LV bushings or input side. So there these systems can be put, and it can give you well before alarm about the incipient danger, and it can prevent big failures and interruption in the services. Okay, now we are concluding over here. I am opening the question and answer session. If you have the questions, you can ask. And before we go to the question and answer session, I will open the chat box, and there's two question. There's one question which I'm going to take. And before I take the question, I'm sharing with you our next Sunday program, which is on 13th December, same time. And this time we have invited a very eminent personality in this program, Mr. Abhay Kulthe, who is the product head of engineering materials in Elantas Beck, which earlier used to be known Dr. Beck India. And he is the authority on different kind of varnishes and impregnating processes used in OVDT, that is VPI transformers, as well as dry type, as well as your motors and other machines. So he is going to be our guest, and I request you to please participate in this program, because this is again going to be a very, very wonderful knowledge sharing event where all the intricacies and all the doubts of your uh, impregnation or VPI transformers or other dry machines, you can ask directly to Mr. Kulte, and he will be more than happy to share his knowledge. And this program will be moderated by myself, uh, and I look forward for your participation in this event. So we will be sharing the joining link maybe tomorrow or at the most day after tomorrow. So you can register by using the link. So now I'm taking the question from the chat box, that is, what is effect of power factor on transformer life? That is, megawatt load is same, but power factor is increased to 0.98 from 0.9. So, very right question, sir, that as you are increasing the power factor, basically what you are doing is you are using the transformer to its close to its MVA rating. So if you have the one power factor, then your MVA will become to your megawatt. So megawatt is going to change when your power factor is, I mean, you can load more megawatt on the transformer. So you can increase the loading on the transformer that way. So this way, the transformer can be utilized in a better way. So that is the effect. It will not have any adverse effect as such on the transformer. Okay, I think I answered your question. There is one question is asked: whenever dry out oil, how much OTA temperature maintained during filtration? So see, this is a very good question asked by Mr. Mahesh. Normally there is a misconception that if we increase the oil temperature during filtration, we get faster and better oil results, which is not true, because just temperature is not responsible for removing the moisture from the transformer. In fact, our purpose of filtration is taking out the water or moisture from the oil. So when you do the filtration, what you are doing is you are somehow trying to remove the moisture. So if you apply the vacuum, so the temperature at which the moisture comes out from the transformer goes down. So if your vacuum level is say 1 millibar or lower, then the moisture can come out at a temperature around 50 to 60 degrees centigrade. Okay, so important is the moisture level and then the temperature. Okay, there are detailed studies available, there are graphs available, which I will share sometime, some other time, where it is clearly established that better the vacuum, lesser is the temperature required to filter the oil. Okay, so whenever you are seeking the filtration services, please ask your guy that your vacuum should be good, and please see the vacuum gauge. Normally, their vacuum gauges are not of sufficient range, or they are not uh, their vacuum systems are not that good. Normally, filtration guys focuses on the heating elements and heating system. He rarely gives attention to the vacuum. So if your vacuum machine, filtration machine is having booster pump in addition to rotary vacuum pump, then you will get a very good vacuum and your filtration will be very nicely done at a lower temperature. Okay, so ask your guy to bring a filtration machine with the booster vacuum pump also. Okay, so that will give you a good quality of oil filtration, and that will happen in much shorter time. Don't increase the temperature beyond 60 degrees centigrade, at the most 70, not beyond 70 in any case. Okay. uh, Another question, thank you so much for asking the question. Definitely I'll be going to share the ppts through the mail also, and we are going to upload this particular session on YouTube. So anytime you can go to the YouTube and see the session. And PPT also I'm going to mail. That is our practice, that whosoever is participating in the program, we are sending the copy of the PPT for their record and their use. So you will be getting the PPT. Another question is, what is useful life of a transformer? Sir, normally it depends. Again, as I said, there are three factors on which the transformer life depends. One is the build factor, the build factor, then service condition, and your inherent factors. So build factors and inherent factor up to some extent are depending upon the transformer manufacturer, at what level the transformer is made. Service condition is definitely in the hand of the user. So as a cumulative effect of all these three factors, uh, the transformer, if everything is right, everything is in right, this thing, a transformer normally should serve you 25 to 30 years. Okay, if it is maintained nicely, it can easily go to around 30, 35, even 40 years also. The key is how you are protecting the insulation, how you are controlling the degradation of the insulation. And that can be very easily done by monitoring the temperature and load on the transformer and moisture ingress in the transformer. If these two factors you are taking care, quite possible that the transformer will serve you over a long period of time. Okay, I think I answered the questions. Now there are no more questions in the chat box. Still, if you have some questions, you can write to me, you can WhatsApp me on the numbers which are displayed over here. So thank you for the participation, and I look forward for your continued support in this program. And next week, as I said, is going to be a very interesting topic on the transformer impregnation, which is again a very specialized area, like the one which you had covered on protective coatings sometime back, where Mr. Konte Deshpande had come and he shared his information on this thing. So now most of the programs you will be finding the external guest, external faculties coming on the program, and they will be sharing their knowledge. A lot many people are being lined up, and I'm hopeful that in coming days, you are going to get good amount of good. You are going to see more number of people other than me on this thing. Okay, so thank you so much, and so let us say goodbye to each other, and we will be seeing you next Sunday, same time. Okay, bye bye. Take care. Thank you so much.